all your mean, mean pride.
Gods, of course, are real in the same sense that Tom Sawyer really is a character in a novel, and so is Holden Caulfield. Gods also are real in that sort of a sense. We create gods in order to personify aspects of reality and even of ourselves that are hard to deal with in other ways. We need to deal with reality in two ways, in an emotional way as well as in a rational way. But gods, if we create gods for ourselves, they can help us to deal with reality in this emotional way. We can achieve a sense of focus by engaging in certain rituals, even though rationally those rituals might be quite meaningless and pointless. They still help, they are still beneficial as such. As long as, of course, we do realize that these are rituals we have created for gods we have created. As long as we keep that in mind, there is no problem. A person can get very involved in a novel. You can really identify with somebody like Tom Sawyer, for example, when you're reading Mark Twain's novel. It goes wrong, of course, when you start thinking that you actually are Tom Sawyer and that you are living the story. Or even if you think that you could go outside and meet Tom Sawyer in the flesh. At that point, you've crossed between a healthy emotional involvement with a wonderful novel into a form of insanity. And the same is true for the gods we create for ourselves. When we start looking at those gods as external beings, either physical beings that are external to ourselves and that can exert a physical influence on ourselves, or even worse, supernatural beings that are completely external to reality as a whole, then we've crossed again the line into crazy land. Those gods cannot possibly exist. I have already stated that I am a positive atheist, and I'm going to state that even more clearly now. When I mean positive atheist, when I say that I am a positive atheist, I mean specifically those externalized gods. The gods that are supernatural and external to reality as a whole, or the more physical type gods, but still external to the human beings that invented them. When we look at gods, we can see the clear signs of human intervention, the clear markers that show us that those gods are human creation. The mythological history of most gods has been well documented, and again, that proves beyond any reasonable doubt, even if not mathematically as such, but it proves that those gods are human creations, and they cannot therefore be actual physical or supernatural beings. But this leads us to one final very important insight indeed. We've seen that all the gods that are worshipped by humans across the globe bear these evident scars of human tampering. They contain within themselves this clear evidence that they were once created as personal deities for personal use by somebody or some group of people, and they've then been changed and modified over time. None of those gods are therefore real. But let's take that realization one step further. Let's think about the word God itself and what it could possibly stand for. The word God can only ever be used in earnest by somebody who actually believes in it. Of course, we can all speculate about what might possibly be out there. Bigger than ourselves, greater than ourselves, more powerful than ourselves. But only the people who actually believe in such things call them gods. Only the people who believe in those external or even supernatural gods that cannot possibly exist use that word in that particular sense. So in other words, every definition that's out there, every valid definition that is out there for the word God, God, is based on these particular types of gods. And from that perspective, it is clear then that you can quite legitimately state that there is no God. Anytime you're engaged in an argument with somebody who would argue that there might be or there is a God, you have to realize that if they're talking about that word God, they must by definition be referring to something that has been defined somewhere, somehow, by somebody who believes in a particular God. And that, as we have seen, cannot exist. And therefore, you can in fact state quite bluntly and assertively and with absolute confidence, there is no God.